What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. I'm Kangas, and this time around, I'm talking about potentially the most impactful and also least liked role, jungle. With MSI approaching, a lot of players are complaining about the staleness of the current jungle meta, and we do have some spicy new picks for the jungle with patch 11.8. But what else is Riot doing to keep the game fresh? Well, let's dive into it and find out. Alright, who are we kidding? It shouldn't surprise anyone that Riot is focusing on making some changes to the jungle. The strongest champions for months now have been Udyr and Hecarim, and they're picked almost every single game. Because of this, it's hard to find games where these two aren't just straight up banned, which feels pretty bad for everyone. No one wants to permanently ban a champion, and if you're the last person to ban, you always feel like you have to choose between one of these two just to be safe. So how do we fix a problem like this? Well, most of the time, Riot tends to bring major changes to the jungle during the off-season, but there have been some examples of big changes that happened in the middle of a season. Patch 11.8 brought some fresh faces into the jungle, including Morgana, who has some of the fastest and healthiest clears in the game right now. And speaking of Morgana jungle, our question of the day is, what champion do you want to see get added to the jungle next? I've been trying to make Soraka jungle work for years now just because it's like an anti-Karthus jungle, but it is absolutely garbage. But let me know yours in the comments down below, because maybe yours is actually viable. But back to the video, along with introducing Morg to the jungle, Riot also made some adjustments to Darius, Diana, Mordekaiser, and Zed in order to also make them a little more viable in the current jungle meta. But honestly, what does it even mean to be a viable pick in the jungle? Just because you can survive the jungle doesn't mean that you're a powerful jungler. Champions like Lee Sin, who are completely designed for the jungle, have really low win rates in this meta. Does Riot really think that Zed can be a viable pick? Like usual, the answer is of course complicated. Luckily, Riot released a dev post talking about the jungle and giving us some insight into future changes. First things first, why give laners jungle changes? Well, right now the jungle is a scary place for a lot of players, especially newer ones. Not only do you need to learn about pathing and smiting, you need to learn about an entirely new set of champions if you want to be successful. So Riot says that they hope introducing some popular laners into the jungle will help ease players into the role. It's a lot easier to pick somebody like Morgana, who can spam her skills and stay super healthy, instead of somebody like Nidalee, who needs to kite camps and auto-cancel in between her skills. On top of helping new players, Riot said that they're always looking to increase diversity in the game. Having a new set of junglers, of course, will help with that. And all the Zeds I'm getting in my games are proof. It's important to note that Riot does not intend on shifting these champions into junglers, they just want to give them an alternative second or third role. So how does Riot choose who will join the jungle? Well, they target champions that can get buffed without buffing their ability to lane. On top of that, they're trying to stay away from champions that have a lot of viability, especially in pro play. Being able to flex pick a champion has huge advantages, so Riot needs to be really careful when doing this. And the last piece of criteria is to make sure a champion still has the same strengths and weaknesses even in the jungle position. A great example of this is the Darius jungle pick. Even if Darius has an easy time clearing the jungle, he'll eventually need to gank a lane or just join a fight, in which case his weakness is pretty obvious. He's got no gap closer, no movement speed, and very little CC. You won't be very effective if you pick Darius jungle when your team has no peel, and that's probably worse than picking him in the top lane. So now that we know how Riot chooses these new junglers, why don't they just bring back older junglers that got nerfed into oblivion? Well, for starters, if a champion got nerfed out of the jungle, it was probably for a good reason. For example, Sylas jungle was just unmatched in utility, sustain, and damage when he was viable in the role. Camille used to be extremely dominant in the jungle too, clearing with ease and spam ganking lanes. Unless something major happens to these champions, like some sort of kit changes or rune rework, it's very unlikely that these champions will show their face in the jungle again. But enough about new champions in the jungle. What do we think about the current jungle pool? Why would Riot ignore the champions that are designed to be in the jungle? Riot stated in their dev blog that they try and keep the total amount of buffs and nerfs the same every patch. This helps keep the game changing at a steady pace. So even if Riot wasn't introducing new champions into the role, they still wouldn't buff a bunch of main junglers. And when champions are added to the jungle, they don't actually affect the role as much as other lanes. While there's usually a small handful of powerful champions in other roles, junglers usually have very few insane junglers, and the rest are just kinda meh. So hypothetically, if Riot had to choose between buffing super weak main junglers and introducing more lane champions to the jungle, they said that they would prioritize buffing main role junglers. For example, they buffed Zac, Rammus, Amumu, and Kindred in the last month. I definitely prefer that approach because it means that jungle champions still are jungle champions rather than just the pool increasing, right? But moving forward, what are the plans for the jungle? Well, right now, Riot is waiting to see what kind of impacts the 11.8 jungle changes make on the meta. If they turn out well, they'll try to add even more champions to the pool. In the meantime, we should expect more systematic changes in patch 11.10. These changes will supposedly be aimed at raising the jungle floor and not the ceiling. This statement came at the end of the blog post, but it's the one that we're questioning the most here at ProGuides. What do they mean by raising the jungle floor? Generally speaking, skill floor refers to how easy it is to get into something. Jungle might be the role with the highest skill floor right now, so why would Riot try to raise the floor if they want to introduce new players into the role? Wouldn't the solution be to lower the floor and increase the ceiling? I mean, if I get autofilled in the jungle, the last thing I want to do is dodge the game just because I don't understand the role at all. And I mean, I've been playing this game for like 5 years and barely get it. But anyway, no matter what direction they go, it's obvious that Riot knows the jungle needs change. So let's hope that they'll be able to shake up the meta in the right way this time. And that'll wrap up our video on the jungle meta. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Don't forget to answer our question of the day in the comments down below. Also like the video and sub to the channel if you haven't already. But most importantly, as always, best of luck on the Rift, stay hydrated, and I'll see you next time.